Hello again. This is my old laptop. It's been faithful for so many years, but the poor old dear is now struggling. It takes 25 minutes to boot up, which is extraordinary. I've done some diagnosis and I know what the problem is. It's basically the hard drive is failing on it. Now, I've decided that I'm going to replace the hard drive, not with like for like, but with a solid state drive instead, which is a faster drive. I'm also going to take the opportunity to upgrade the RAM in it, and hopefully at the end of this I shall have a rejuvenated laptop. So what I'm going to show you is how I went about diagnosing that the hard drive was failing, and then I'm going to move on to showing you how I'm going to clone the hard drive onto the new solid state drive and replace it physically into the laptop, along with of course the RAM upgrade as well. So how to find out what the problem is with my laptop, and to start with, I fired up the task manager, which you can get to by holding down Control, Alt and Delete keys, and you can see that my hard disk is running at 100%, and frankly the transfer rates to the hard drive are pretty dire. My next step was to really just clean up the hard drive, all those temporary files and the stuff that it builds up over the years. So I ran the Windows Disk Cleanup utility, and unfortunately again, as expected I suppose, it didn't actually work. My other favourite program, which again is a free download, is a program called CCleaner. This is a lovely little program really, but it allows you again to do a disk cleanup, and also it has the added bonus that you can do things like cleaning up registry entries as well, and it generally helps with the PC's health. Next I used Malwarebytes. Now Malwarebytes is great for looking for malware, all those Trojans, things that can take control of your laptop and slow it completely down. You can scan it, you can find the Trojans and you can delete them. I've also obviously got Virus Checker running as well on this laptop. So the next thing is to check the Windows integrity. Dial in CMD into the search box and you bring up a command prompt. What we want to do is to do a system file check, which checks all Windows files, and you type in sfc / scan now, and I did this, and of course my Windows files are all fine. Oh dear. Next, I decided to try and see if anything was controlling the laptop, so used msconfig this time. And this is a good utility where you can switch off services that programs have. So by hiding all the Microsoft services, you can then delete all those services associated with the programs on your computer and do a reboot and see if this speeds things up. It's a good little tool, this, for diagnosing issues. You can also go over to Startup and run up the Task Manager, and these are all the programs that are could be running on Startup, but as you can see I've disabled all of them. So at this point I wasn't doing very well. I've decided it's not really a software problem, so I went over to a website by EaseUS and downloaded another free program called Partition Master. Now this seems to be quite an interesting program. It's got lots of tools that you can mess about with your hard drive, repartition it and do all sorts of different things. However, the bit that I was most interested in was under the Discovery, and there's a thing called Disk Health, and I ran that, and here we can see the problem. If you look under the first column, under current values for my hard drive, it's got very high numbers, and the threshold, which is the accepted limit, second column, the numbers are a lot lower, and you can see that I've got reallocated sectors count is 94 where the accepted limit is 36. So essentially my hard drive is failing badly and needs to be replaced. I fired up Google. I decided that I wouldn't replace the hard drive with just a like-for-like hard drive, but this time I would go for an SSD, a solid state drive. And I put in that for an upgrade, and I spooled down, and I found this company called Mr. Memory. And I'd already put in my model number for my laptop, so I knew that what I was looking at was compatible with my laptop. And they do these kits of various SSD sizes, and it looked just the job really. So I bought a 1 terabyte, which is larger than the hard drive that I've got at the moment. And at the same time, I went over and had a look at the memory. I currently have 4 gigabytes of RAM in my laptop, and I decided that it's probably worth upgrading the RAM. So I've also bought 2 lots of 8 gigabytes of RAM. Whoa, crikey. Eek. So in the time I've been making this video, this laptop has just crashed and has done an automatic Windows repair. So I think I'm going to have to move fairly swiftly. I've got the kit from Mr. Memory, and I'll show you what I've got inside of it. First of all, we've got the 2 lots of RAM. Thank you very much. And then I've got this box. And in the box is a carton. First thing of note is it comes with, in this particular case, Acronis True Image software. Now, I've used Acronis in the past, many years ago, for cloning discs. Good company. I can do a download and get some cloning software, and it's all part of the deal with this kit. Inside the kit there's lots of bits that you probably won't need unless you've got a desktop. That's a frame to hold the SSD. Then I've got the actual SSD drive itself. There's a spacer here because that SSD might be thinner than the original hard drive, in which case I might need to space off the SSD in order for it to fit into the connector. And then I've got a few more cables. Again, these cables are really for desktop machines, power supply and a SATA drive cable. I won't be using them. And finally, there's this container, this box. And this is kind of like an adapter where, here we go. If I undo that, inside I've got a USB to SATA cable plugs in here, and the SSD slots into this box. Right, now given that my laptop is in pretty desperate state and it's crashing, I'm going to get on and download the Acronis software. And I think in terms of priorities, it can do a number of things. First of all, it can effectively create a bootable DVD, CD or USB stick, and I think I'm going to create myself a bootable disk to start with, just in case this hard drive decides to fail. I have something that I can at least get the laptop up and working. Secondly, I want to do a full backup of the all the data on this laptop anyway, so I don't lose anything. And thirdly, I'm then going to go for the cloning. So bear with me, I'll be back in a minute. Well, that's an eek for the second occasion. This is a couple of days later now, because when I was attempting to install the cloning software, the hard drive completely died. And if I attempt to reboot the machine, I get this, it goes through the BIOS boot up, and then I get this smart hard disk error. Fatal, in other words. So I'm afraid the hard drive is actually gone. So this is going to take this video on a new direction really. Instead of cloning the hard drive, which to be frank actually, if you've got a corrupted hard drive, is not necessarily a good idea. It's probably better to do a complete fresh install, which is the way I'm going to go now. And so what I'm going to do is install the SSD and put a new Windows 10 onto it, and then just basically rebuild all the software again. I did actually back up this laptop a couple of weeks ago, so that may be helpful, I don't know. I may be able to get quite a lot of my programs and data back without having to reinstall. We'll see. Anyway, the first step is to get the Windows 10 media, and this is how you do it. Dial up Google, put in Microsoft Media Creation Tool, and in my case I'm going to go to Windows 10. Pull down, first thing it says, there's a program to help you update your Windows to 22H2, or you can create this, a standalone Windows 10 installation. So I'm going to use that. And it comes. Run it up. I don't want to upgrade this PC. What I want to do is create an installation of media either on a flash drive, DVD or an ISO. So I'm going to go with that. I want to change that to UK English. Like that. These other ones, you have no choice really. I want 64 anyway. Okay. I'm going to put it onto a USB flash drive. This drives is that one. Next. Okay, that should be done now. Finish off. So here's the USB stick. It's ready to go, but the next thing to do is to get into the BIOS to make absolutely certain that it will boot from the USB, or rather than just go off looking at the hard drive. Now, to do that, and you'll need to look up on your own laptop to find out how to get into the BIOS. I'm just going to go like this, and it actually says BIOS F10. So I've gone to F10, very top here, configuration, drop down, boot options. Come down through this and hopefully you will find USB device boot. The next thing is to check what the order is, and if you look down the bottom here, the legacy boot order that I'm using is USB hard drive is first in the list. Now if it wasn't, I can easily change it just by selecting it and just moving up and down like this. Anyway, that all looks good. Come out of that, we should be able to boot. And there we are, we booted up into the Windows installation page, which setup page, which is great. So let's carry on with changing the hard drive. Right, here we go then. Turn the laptop over. On my one, there's a couple of locking bits here. Unlock the left hand side and take the battery out. Unlock the right hand side and this cover pops off. Now if we look inside, I've got the hard drive is just here, and this is where the memory strips are, and you can see I've only got one in there at the moment. So I'm going to take out the hard drive. You need a small screwdriver like this, and there are 3 screws to take out. There we go. One hard drive out. So first thing of note is the screws here are trapped, so they're not going to lift out, so you don't need to worry about losing them. And the hard drive inside there is held within this carriage, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to undo, and then we can install this new SSD as well. There we go, in it goes like that, and then we can do up these screws again. 1, 2, 3. Well, there's the SSD installed. Now I'm going to leave the RAM for now. I just only want one problem at a time, and I think the first thing to do is to get that hard drive up and working with the set of Windows on, and if it works fine, then I will replace the RAM. So I'm going to install, and one of the things I'm worried about is actually activating the Windows. Now, I have my old Windows 7 activation code is one possibility, because I believe it will work in Windows 10, because Windows 10 was an upgrade for Windows 7. However, I also believe that it is now digitally signed, and because this laptop, I had an account on Microsoft, and this laptop is registered with Microsoft with its original set of Windows, it should automatically activate when I log in to my Microsoft account. Anyway, we shall see how it goes. So I'm going to hit install. Setting up is starting. Now here's the activation page. Now if this is a fresh install, you would have some sort of activation code, or you would have to go and get a code once you've finished installing. But it does actually say if you're reinstalling Windows, select I don't have a product key. Your copy of Windows will be automatically activated later, and that's what I'm hoping for. So I'm going, I don't have a product key. Now you choose the type of Windows that you want installed. Originally on this laptop it was Windows 10 Pro, so that's what I'm going for, and I'm going to hit next. Sign and accept the conditions, of course. What a surprise. So this point is saying I can't use the upgrade method. I'm going to have to use this custom install Windows only. I'm going to use, in fact, it's identified my new hard drive. It's saying it's basically 1 terabyte, which is exactly what it is. And I'm going to hit next. And here we go, installing. So I'll come back to you once it's installed. Ping. And there we are. We're back in and we got Windows. Now, question is activation settings. Let's have a quick look at those. Oh, there we are. Excellent. It says Windows is activated with digitally licensed linked to your Microsoft account. So that worked beautifully. So now all I've got to do is either try and retrieve my backup, which is one possibility, or simply just reinstall everything else. But it's all worked. So let's shut down, and this time I'm going to change the RAM. All right, back inside again, and I'm going to remove the RAM. There are clips on either side, just here, and we should be able to ease it out, and out comes that strip of RAM. Now all I've got to do is put in the other two. Okay, here's the new RAM. There's a little edge cut out here that lines up with the edge connector. You don't want to put your fingers on that edge connector. Equally, you don't want to be wearing anything nylon that might discharge a spark into the RAM. But you just slot it into the edge, then push down to you here, a healthy click, and the RAM is installed. Let's try the second one. Same again, turning it over so the little notch lines up like that, pushing in, there we go, just easing it in, pushing down, healthy click, 2 lots of RAM installed. Well, there we are. Managed to get the old laptop working again. The video did not go as I expected, and the hard drive of course died in the middle of it, which is a bit of a shame, but probably a good thing in the end, because it meant that I've had to do a clean rebuild. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the process of how I diagnosed and then how we rebuilt the machine as well, and also doing changing out the hardware as well. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, be appreciated. Leave some comments as well if you found it useful, and think about subscribing to me as well. I do occasional videos, and as probably by now you've worked out that I fix things that occur, that break around the house, and it's rather diverse actually, the videos that I do, but I do them occasionally as stuff comes up. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.